And in defining a project, there are two fundamental things we need to start with, which are goal and objectives. And I am aware that for many people, goals and objectives sound like one thing. It's kind of like we've fallen into Germany and goals and objective has become one word. But I want to make a distinction. I want to draw a distinction between a goal and objectives that may not necessarily match what your dictionary says, but gives you an important working distinction for us as project managers. I'm going to define a goal as something that answers a very simple, very important question. Perhaps the most important question in the world. What do we want? A goal sets out the whole purpose of the project. It sets out the aim, it sets out what we're trying to achieve, whereas objectives answer a slightly different question. They answer the question, how do we want it? Because what objectives do is they set boundaries upon our goal, boundaries upon our project, which say that achieving the goal is not enough. To be truly successful, we have to achieve it against certain criteria. Therefore, your objectives give you the criteria against which you are going to measure your success at the end of the project. And whilst there are some people who say, well, if we don't set objectives, we can't fail, can we? If you don't set objectives, you cannot succeed. And as project managers, success is what we crave, isn't it? So, of course, we're going to set objectives, and I'm going to try and illustrate the distinction between these using a project that was launched with a speech that went something like this. This nation commits, before the end of the decade, to put a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth. This nation commits, before the end of the decade, to put a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth. Does anybody know who said that? Kennedy. John Kennedy, launched the Apollo mission with that, those sort of words. What was his goal? What did he want? Man on the moon. But putting a man on the moon wasn't enough. How do we have to do it? Safely, return him safely to Earth, and that's not what he said. It's what he meant, but it's not what he said. And we're project managers, so we need to be literal, at least at first. By the end of the decade. Exactly right. So what he was doing was saying, yeah, we can get a man on the moon, but to do it properly, we've got to get them home safely, which is quite tricky, given the fact that you're strapping 3 men on top of 50,000 gallons of highly explosive rocket fuel, lighting the blue touch paper, and retiring. And by the end of the decade, NASA did not have as much computing power available to them as most of you have in your pockets or in your bags. Yeah? Never mind what was on board. So this was a real challenge.